Tonight, a community in mourning after a 4-year-old girl is struck and killed by a GO train in Mississauga.
I've never seen tragedy like this.
Residents concerned over how easy it is to cross onto the tracks as an investigation gets underway into what happened. Plus,
we want to ensure that we're filling the skills gap.
Ontario wants a bigger say when it comes to immigration, demanding more control over who gets to settle here based on the skills the province needs. And
we took the largest 62 metros across North America to see how the downtowns were coming back or not.
A new study finds Toronto is lagging behind many other major cities when it comes to economic recovery from the pandemic. So what's the deal? Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. Residents of a Mississauga community are mourning the death of a 4-year-old girl who was struck and killed by a GO train. It happened last night in the Dundas East and Cawthra Road area. As an investigation gets underway into what happened, some of those who live in the area say they have long had safety concerns, noting how easy it is to access the tracks. Dale Manukduk has more.
Around 7:40 last night, a 4-year-old girl was struck and killed by a GO train heading westbound on the Milton line. Police and emergency responders arrived shortly after and tried to save her life, but she was pronounced dead on scene.
I heard a horn, like really loud.
This man was working in his garage at the time of the incident. After the horns,
Screeching brake noise, So I thought there must be something serious, It was really, really loud.
he approached the scene to find children screaming and crying, and then a woman believed to be the girl's mother came from the other side in shock.
I've never seen tragedy like this. She picked up the kid instantly and she ran out. I called 911. Other people, I don't know, whoever called 911 as well.
Residents here are still grappling with the trauma.
I was close enough to see that the train did collide with something. I haven't slept at this point, right? I'm still going, getting through it, right?
I seen the father going back into the apartment last night. 2 people were holding him up. He was just ready to collapse.
Those who live in the area say they've been concerned about how easy it's been to access the tracks. This morning, our camera captured a man walking up a small hill and then parallel to a fast-moving GO train. He casually walks over the tracks to the other side. Residents say this happens all the time.
But I know that there's no real protective barrier. People use it to get to Dundas and kind of back and forth.
So I have crossed it before because it's the easiest way to get up to Dundas.
Easy no longer. There used to be a gap in the fence, but today CP rail workers closed it up. Residents hope it can help prevent something like this from happening again.
Of course I'm a mother, so I'm broken. I can't just imagine something happening like this.
People have been dropping flowers now here at the access point. Meanwhile, Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie posted to social media extending her condolences to the family. The flags at City Hall have been lowered to half-mast. And while Mayor Crombie says that the victim is a 4-year-old girl, police have not confirmed those details. They tell me that they will not be commenting any further on this incident because there is no criminality. However, CP Rail, Metrolinx, and the Transport Safety Board of Canada are all running concurrent investigations to find out what happened here. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Mississauga.
Police are asking for the public's help identifying a teen boy wanted in connection to several sexual assaults that happened on bike trails in the city's west end. 2 took place on the Gatineau Hydro Corridor Trail near Birchmount and 2 on the East Don Valley Trail.
The Toronto Police Service has issued a public safety alert after 4 women were allegedly sexually assaulted while walking and exercising on trails in the Scarborough area. In all 4 instances where these sexual assaults occurred, this teenage boy fled on a dark color or black mountain bike.
They're looking for a male teen about 5'5" with a thin build and short light brown or blonde hair. Police say he was seen wearing a red t-shirt, black shorts, and a brown camouflage design backpack. Anyone with information is asked to come forward. And police are cracking down on street racers after seeing an increase in street racing on the province's highways. They say speed racing events are being organized online and are gaining popularity on social media.
Today's street races are extraordinarily brazen and elaborately orchestrated events. They result in dangerous behaviors that threaten the safety of all participants.
Seems to be bragging rights retweets and Instagram likes and Instagram followers. And that seems to be a significant motivator to us.
OPP and regional police forces are collaborating on Project Buccaneer to make roads safer for everyone. They're encouraging street racers to take car racing to the track. The manager at Toronto Motorsports Park says he has participated in street racing in the past.
Until somebody took me to the track and said, hey, you got to check this out. There's a big race event this weekend. And then I went to the track and I saw that, you know, it was organized. There's prizes to be won. It's like a lot cheaper than a ticket, and it's a lot of fun.
OPP says since January, they've received more than 4,100 street racing calls and 75 calls for collisions linked to stunt driving. Ontario is among a number of provinces demanding more control over immigration. To combat labor shortages, provincial officials want to have a say in who comes to Canada based on their skills. Ali Chiasson has the details.
This year, 211,000 immigrants are coming to Ontario, and the province gets to choose 4.5% of them based on their job skills. Feeling the pressure of labor shortages, Ontario Labour Minister Monty McNaughton wants to increase that.
Quebec this year is going to select 50,000 immigrants. British Columbia is going to select 11,000. Nova Scotia is going to be able to select 50% of the total number of immigrants that their province gets. And yet Ontario, which has by far the greatest labor shortage, is only going to select less than 5%.
He says the province is focused on two sectors, healthcare and skilled trades.
If we were able to choose the immigrants based on skill sets and, you know, with our action to recognize international credentials, I mean, we would be, you know, helping their quality of life and, you know, lifting families up for the new Canadians that are coming here, but also filling this economic void.
Yes, please, says the Ontario Skilled Trades Alliance.
These are excellent jobs that offer a ticket to the middle class.
From residential to transit construction, Alliance Chair Patrick McManus says they're ready for those newcomer resumes.
Unless we see a massive uptick in the number of people domestically going into these industries, which we've had a very hard time attracting over the last 15 years, we're going to see projects take longer to build and become more expensive to build.
Tomorrow, McNaughton will meet with Federal Immigration Minister Sean Fraser. He's joined by his Conservative counterparts in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba.
This is part of the regular kind of dance that the ministers engage in before these kinds of meetings.
This labor expert says Ontario doesn't have trouble attracting skilled immigrants, so this alone isn't going to solve the labor shortage. Instead, they should create programs for existing immigrants to upgrade their skills.
I think that kind of work is really necessary, and also to educate employers. There's still a lot of immigrants here whose skills are not being utilized.
In a statement to CBC News, Fraser doesn't address the province's request directly, instead saying he looks forward to working with them. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
A new report ranks Toronto in the bottom third of major North American cities when it comes to economic recovery from the pandemic. Now, the ranking comes after a joint study between the University of Toronto and the University of California, Berkeley. Greg Ross with more on what could be behind our city's low standing.
According to the study, which is called Death of Downtown, Toronto's downtown core is lagging behind most other major cities in North America when it comes to economic recovery.
We took the largest 62 metros across North America to see how the downtowns were coming back.
Toronto finished in a tie for 49th. The study suggests that between March and May of 2022, downtown Toronto was only at about 46% of the levels that were tracked during the same time period in 2019. The study points out some key factors for the slow recovery.
The Canadian lockdown went much longer than the U.S. one. The rules were stricter. People went home at Omicron, so that delayed the comeback. There's a number of different professional service firms. We're talking about law firms, management consulting, even architects. We find a number of different service firms are working from home and maybe coming in 1 or 2 days a week and not likely to come back.
In comparison, New York City finished much higher, ranked 14th.
New York has arts, entertainment sector. It's made a lot of efforts to get activity back downtown. It opened up earlier. It has a much more diverse economy. And that's, I think, one of the main lessons here.
The Toronto Region Board of Trade has been tracking Toronto's recovery as well, and they say this study doesn't tell the whole story. They say things have been much stronger since the start of the summer.
It's really between May and July that downtown Toronto saw a surge of economic activity, 30% growth between May and mid-July in terms of foot traffic.
And while Toronto's economy may not be as diverse as New York's, the Board of Trade says the return of major conferences and events have helped bring people back.
These activities draw workers back to the office to do fun things and to collaborate. And so it's these kinds of events that will continue to bring workers back to the office on a more regular basis.
Vancouver was the lowest ranked Canadian city at 57th. Halifax, which ranked 20th, was the highest in Canada. Salt Lake City, Utah was first. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Dahlia Ashry joins us now with a first look at the forecast. Dahlia, dry for most of the day, but that's changing as we head into the overnight.
That's right, Kelly. You probably didn't need your umbrella earlier today, but this evening, well, you might need it and have it next to your door because you're going to probably use it tomorrow. So wet conditions as we head into tomorrow and a risk of a thunderstorm is what we're expecting. That's the story as we head into Thursday. And for the long weekend, well, we'll get into that in a second. We'll see if there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The daytime highs for today were 26 degrees in Windsor, 27, Hamilton, 26. And there is rain that is expected tonight. It's going to carry through until tomorrow. There's a cold front that's moving in through northeastern Ontario. So that cold front is just bringing a little bit of those winds and the rain. But as we can see, as we head into Friday, well, that starts to clear up. You won't need your umbrella for Friday, and you won't need it as we head into Saturday. Now, tonight, things start to cool down a little bit. We get a bit of a break from the heat that we had earlier today, 20 degrees, but it will be windy. Winds will be gusting at 20 kilometers an hour as we head into tomorrow. Well, that risk of a thunderstorm that I mentioned earlier, keep your umbrellas nearby. Now, will you need the umbrellas for the weekend? We'll have more on that later.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. A second day of parliamentary committee hearings into the Hockey Canada scandal unfolded in Ottawa today. The committee heard that since 1989, the organization has settled 9 sexual abuse cases with money from a national equity fund, with payments totaling $7.6 million.
With respect to using money, we haven't used money to protect our image. We've used money to respond and support victims.
Canada CEO Scott Smith also faced calls from the committee members for his resignation. He said he wants to be the person to lead efforts in the organization to address sexual abuse. Pope Francis has arrived in Quebec City to continue his so-called pilgrimage of penance across Canada. His flight from Alberta landed this afternoon. The Pope was greeted by several dignitaries, including Indigenous leaders and Quebec Premier François Legault. The stop includes a meeting with Governor General Mary Simon at her official residence in Quebec, known as La Citadelle. The residence is next to the Plains of Abraham, the site of scheduled ceremonies and Indigenous cultural programs. Welcome back. Toronto Mayor John Tory is facing an integrity complaint over his ties to media giant Rogers. It all stems from the mayor's recent city council vote to limit weekend road closures along the lakeshore that were part of the active TO program.
Well, the Toronto Blue Jays, which is wholly owned by Rogers, sent a letter to the city of Toronto, and including Mayor Tory, saying that their business was being hurt by the decision to close certain roads, and they wanted those road closures to end. And to me, that's as clear an example of where, certainly if you've got an interest in Rogers, which the mayor does, where a politician has to step back and say, I have divided loyalties here. It's not appropriate for me to be involved, and step away gracefully. But that didn't happen here.
Adam Chalif filed the complaint. He alleges the Blue Jays organization contacted Tory directly to tell him that their business was suffering because of the active TO closures. Soon after, council voted to limit the number of road closures for the program. Tory, who is a member of the Rogers Family Trust, took part in that vote. Chalif argues Tory's actions go against the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. The mayor's office releasing a statement in response to the complaint, saying this vote was about a city program that the mayor introduced and championed throughout the pandemic, and this was a very broad public issue involving all road users in the city. The statement goes on to say, when the mayor does have any conflicts, he studiously has declared them, and he did not have one in this case. Another councillor is moving on from Toronto City Hall.
Looking for other opportunities to have an impact, particularly around climate change and climate solutions, but also I'd like to put a little bit more balance in my life and focus on being a good dad.
Mike Layton says he won't seek re-election in October's municipal election because he feels he's accomplished all he could during his 3 terms at City Hall. Layton is currently the councillor for University Rosedale and has been in office since 2010. He's the son of former Toronto councillor and federal NDP leader Jack Layton. Toronto's Centre for Addiction and Mental Health has received the first ever federal grant to study magic mushrooms as a treatment for depression. The study will explore whether psilocybin can help alleviate symptoms in those with treatment-resistant depression without any of the psychedelic effects.
My experience with depression started about 12 years ago, and I've tried all 5 classes of antidepressants over the past 11 years.
For Carol Dagger, nothing worked. She even tried electric convulsion therapy, but had to stop because it was too hard. Then, last August,
I started looking at ketamine through the assistance of Dr. Hussain and CAMH. It really is like your brain is a puzzle before you start the session. As you go through the session, the puzzle is being completely torn apart in a very quick way.
After a few sessions, her symptoms finally started to alleviate. CAMH is now hoping another psychedelic, psilocybin mushrooms, will also be an effective treatment for depression.
It's hugely important that, first and foremost, that we are studying new treatments for mental illnesses and common mental illnesses like depression, because there's a large group of the population that don't get better with the treatments we currently have.
Dr. Ishrat Hussain is leading the study that will explore whether the antidepressant components of psilocybin mushrooms can be separated from its psychedelic effects.
Can we harness the antidepressant effects of psilocybin without that very intense psychedelic experience? We really need to understand, are these treatments safe? Are they effective? How do they work? How can we scale them up if they do work and are safe?
The 3-year study will include 60 adults who have been living with treatment-resistant depression for at least 3 years. A third of those participants will get a full dose of psilocybin plus a blocker that will stop the drug's psychedelic effects. Another 20 participants will get psilocybin and a placebo, while the third group will be given a placebo and the blocker. For Dagger, knowing psilocybin mushrooms may be available as a treatment option in the future gives her hope.
Psychedelics are the new frontier and a new lifeline for people like me. The fact that there is psilocybin on the horizon gives me that hope that I could still fight, because there is another tool in my toolkit coming down the pipeline.
Canadian superstar Shawn Mendes is canceling his world tour to take a mental health break.
I'm just trying to hold on.
The musician posting on Instagram today saying he wasn't ready for the difficulty of touring after such a long time away during the pandemic. He says he's consulting health professionals and taking time to heal. More than 70 performances have been canceled, including 2 shows in Toronto. And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, partly cloudy tonight with a bit of scattered rain in some areas. Currently sitting at a very comfortable 23 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Dahlia now with a look at your extended forecast. And Dahlia, we should keep our umbrellas handy as we head into tomorrow.
That's right, Kelly. You probably didn't need it today, but that's when you keep it right next to your door for work tomorrow as you head out. You're going to need it because it's going to be raining and there's a risk of a thunderstorm, but there is some light at the end of the tunnel. And I have some good news as we take a look at the forecast. So earlier today, the daytime highs were 26 degrees, Windsor 27, London 25. So for the most part, it was pretty warm, especially with the humidex that was kicking in earlier today. It felt more like 30 degrees. Now, Thursday tonight, or more in the morning, we start to see a little bit of that rain starting to make its way through into Toronto. And that's because there's a cold front that's moving through northeastern Ontario. Now, as we head into Friday, well, things start to clear up. There's no more clouds in sight. It's a beautiful way to kick off the long weekend. We see a little bit of overcast throughout Friday evening, but that will clear up as well as you head into Saturday. Overnight tonight, we get a little bit of a break. Things start to cool down. The wet conditions start to kick in, and that will go into tomorrow during the day. We also get a little bit of lightning tomorrow, so you'll see that throughout the day. But for the most part, there is 60% chance of rain, so make sure you have those umbrellas that we were talking about earlier. And tonight, like we mentioned, it will cool down, and with that rain, it'll probably bring the temperatures down a little bit. Hamilton, 19 degrees, Mississauga, 18, so overall precipitation in the area. Now, as we look at what's ahead, well, tomorrow, we talked about the thunderstorms, but look at those beautiful yellow marks. What do we call that? Mr. Sunshine, just making its way throughout the rest of the weekend. Enjoy it for the long weekend. Maybe hit a patio or something. 26 degrees on Friday. It starts to get warmer as the days progress. Saturday, 28 degrees, 29 on Sunday, and Monday, another beautiful high, 29 degrees. And with the humidex, you'll probably feel around 30. Kelda?
Thanks so much, Dahlia. The Canadian National Exhibition is kicking off the season early with a fun show for the kids. Horses are the stars of the performance, filled with trick riding and stunts.
Tells you a little bit about a horse, shows many of the different breeds from all around the world. We've also got trick riding, we got trick roping. There's a little bit of something for everybody.
I have my foot in a strap on this side of the horse, and I hang completely upside down by one foot. That one's my absolute favorite.
The show is called Horse Capades. Organizers say the kids get a chance to learn all about the horses and even meet some of them, from miniature ones to large Clydesdales. The show is free and runs twice daily until August 18th. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.